Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. October is here. We are full on in fall. As I look out my window, I see the beautiful mountains covered in yellows and reds. All of the brush on the mountain is starting to turn, and I am so in the mood for fall makeup. So for today, I wanted to share with you guys a pumpkin spice inspired makeup look. But a quick confession, I am not actually the biggest fan of pumpkin spice. I don't drink pumpkin spice flavored hot drinks. I don't love traditional pumpkin pie. I'm more of a pumpkin chocolate chip muffin kind of girl. But in honor of my love for fall and with this color of nails, we are gonna go with the pumpkin spice theme today and create an eye look based upon that. So here is the look that we are creating today. As you can see, very warm, very rich, very kind of pumpkin-y and buttery. And for today's look, we are going to be using the Makeup Revolution Division palette. I've been talking quite a bit about this palette recently. I love the color story of this palette. It is one of my favorite color stories to reach for in the fall. These shadows aren't necessarily the greatest quality in the world, but I think for the price, they're really good quality. We're really going to be focusing mainly on two colors today, this matte kind of orangey yellow, and then also this deep chocolatey brown right here. And then I'll probably add a little bit of this shimmery color to the inner corner, but you could actually use really any highlight shade for your inner corner or inner lid. If you do not have that palette and you happen to have the So Jaded palette, you could do the same thing using probably a mixture between this orange and this yellow color right here to get that kind of yellowy orange tone. And then this color right here, Jasper, while not exact, is a very nice warm chocolatey brown. Another palette you could use to do something similar is the Born to Run palette. I know a lot of us probably have this palette. Now this one does not have any yellow tones in it, so it would definitely give you a little bit different of a look. But you could start off with this orange right here as a replacement for that kind of yellowy orange that I'll be using. And then I would probably use the shade Punk right beneath it to kind of deepen things out and smoke things out. I actually think this is going to give you more of an intense kind of bold look than the Makeup Revolution palette, just because that palette's a little bit more soft, a little bit more buildable. But you could certainly draw inspiration from my look and use this palette or really any palette in your collection that has similar tones. So I think that is enough of an explanation. Before we jump into the look, I want to welcome any of you that are new to my channel. I hope that you'll consider subscribing if you haven't done that yet. And now I'll zoom you guys in and let's get working on the eye look. Alright guys, so I will try my best to stay in focus. I always have a really hard time staying in focus when I'm really close, but hopefully this will be a little bit more helpful for you guys. So before we get into the eyeshadow application, a couple of things. I did already apply really all of my face makeup, which I will list in the description box down below if you are curious. And I also primed my eyelids with a little bit of concealer. I used the ColourPop concealer in Fair number 5, and then added on top of that just a little bit of translucent powder to set it in place. So now I want to kick things off by going into this shade right here. You actually could skip this step. This is just kind of going to give me a little bit more of a blend when I dip into this shade right here because it's a little bit more pigmented. I always like starting with something a little bit lighter, and we're going to put this right above my crease. Actually, this is just like a half shade darker than my natural skin tone, which I think is just going to help everything give me a nice blend between my brow bone highlight, which I will try to remember to put on. I always forget to put on a brow bone highlight, and the more pigmented color that we'll put down below. Now with that same brush, which is my Morphe M504, we're going to dip into this corner shade right here, which is kind of a yellowy orange. I love this color. It's one of my favorites in this palette. And I just remembered another option if you don't have this palette. A great option for this one that's also affordable is the e.l.f. Opposites Attract palette. I believe it has very similar shades to these browns and kind of yellowy oranges in it. So I'm kind of starting off with this color just in and above my crease area. I'm going to build it up there, and then we're going to lightly kind of add a little bit more kind of all over the lid. But I want the majority of that color to be kind of in my transition area, slightly above my crease, but not quite as high as we went with the previous shade. If you're using the same brush, like a large fluffy brush like this, when you're adding that second shade, I find it helpful to just vary the amount of pressure that you put on it. So in the first shade, I really pushed pretty firmly and got my brush to really splay out and spread out quite a bit. I'm not pressing quite as hard this time. I'm being a little bit more light-handed, kind of more feathery stroke so that color doesn't move too far up towards my brow bone. And in case you're wondering about my nail color, this is actually, I think I picked this up like two years ago in the fall, just at Walmart. It's from the brand Sinful Colors, which is not my favorite nail polish brand in the world. I don't love their nail polishes. I don't think they last very well or apply very well. This stuff took about 45 minutes to dry, which is quite a bit of a nuisance. If you look closely, some of the nails look pretty dinged up and yucky, but the color, this is the color Copper Pot. They do still have it available. I definitely recommend the color, because isn't that color just the epitome of fall? So again, I just got a little bit more on my brush and just tapped the excess off, and we're just kind of placing that on the lid. I want to leave just this much of the inner corner blank because we're going to add a little bit of a shimmery lightning shade right there. The rest of that color can be pretty blown out. We don't really need to worry too much about the shape. Now I'm going to go in with this little shading brush from Real Techniques. Just a small smudgy brush will do, and we're going to take that same color and we're going to start building that up on the lower lash line, about 2/3 of the way in. All right, we're moving right along. This might be a very short video today. So now we're gonna jump into this color right here. This is just a warm, it's a very milk chocolate kind of color. So I'm gonna take this on my Morphe M507. We're gonna kind of build that up in my brush, tap off the excess, and I'm gonna start placing that right in this kind of outer corner and pull down almost in like a triangle right there. We're going to add a couple of layers of this just to kind of slowly deepen things up. With what's left on my brush, I'm just going to kind of feather that in a little bit. I don't actually want this to go too far in. I actually don't want too much dimension in my socket. I want most of the dimension just on this outer corner right here. A tiny bit more, and we're going to just kind of run some of that under the outer 1/4 of the lower lash line. Just right there in the corner. I think initially I was planning to do 2 looks, but then I really wanted to go with this like pumpkin spice theme. But let me know if you guys want to see me come back and recreate. I did do a green halo eye using these 2 darker color greens right here with a little bit of this shimmery color on the center. It was really pretty. That one got a little bit sloppy again because these colors are very powdery. You have to be so careful with how you build them up, especially when you're putting them on your inner corner. That's the tricky thing with a halo eye, is you typically want that color to kind of concentrate right on this inner corner, but if things, you want it to look blended, but if you blend too much, you start getting too much darkness, like up in this shadow right there, which is already dark on its own. So I kind of feel like that whole section right there just got really dark. It made me look like I got punched in the eye a little bit. So I do want to retry that one because I think it was kind of just user error on my part. I just wasn't as careful as I needed to be for a look like that. So I basically just went in with a flat shader brush. This one is the Juvia's Place Small Definer Brush. Anything that's kind of like a synthetic concealer brush will work. And I went into this shimmery kind of greenish gold shade right here and really loaded it up in my brush. And then I just started kind of tapping that on my inner corner. You may need to go in 2 or 3 times to build up the intensity on that because it's a little bit more of a difficult shimmer to work with. But if you're patient and you're willing to kind of build it up and tap it out, it will get you there in the end. You just have to be patient with it. So now I want to line my eyes. I'm just going to take my Wet n Wild eyeliner pencil. I'm just going to line my waterline, which I always do. And I know you guys have been requesting a video about eyeliner and especially tight lining, which I know can be a little bit tricky, especially if you don't do it very often or haven't done it a lot. It's kind of a scary thing to learn how to do, but once you get the hang of it, it's really super simple. So I'm just adding a tiny bit of liner in between these outer lashes. I'm literally just like dotting it on super lightly. Then I'm going to draw a little bit of a line on the outer half of my upper lash line and just slightly wing it out. But if you want to keep this warm, I highly recommend using either a black brown or a brown liner for this. I just think it gives you that rich intensity without being too stark. I think sometimes, I mean, I'm not opposed to using black liner. I use it quite often. I'm usually a brown fan over a black fan just for the looks that I typically like to reach for and for my features. I just think black on me personally can look a little bit harsh, but especially if you're wanting to do a rich, warm fall look, I definitely recommend sticking with a brown liner. I think it adds warmth to your look that a black liner will not give you, but it's still nice and dark and intense, as you can see. All right, let's add a little bit of mascara. I'm gonna go in with a few coats of the Lash Paradise mascara, and I will be right back. And here we are. So the last thing I would like to do is finish off with the lips. And for today's lip look, I really want to go with something nice and warm, very kind of peachy toned. So I think I'm going to take this lip liner right here. This is from Essence. So this is a number 11 in the nude. Very nice kind of peachy neutral. It's a pretty stiff pencil, which I don't mind. I think they last longer when they're stiff like that, but they're just so much harder to put on. I do love the color of this one though. But now for lipstick, I want to go in with this color right here. This is Appy from ColourPop, which is just a really nice kind of peachy nude. And then very last, I just want to pop on the tiniest bit of a clear gloss. This one is from L'Oreal. This is in the color Petal. It's kind of a pinky, iridescent sort of shimmery color, but it's mostly clear. It doesn't have a lot of pigment in it. Apply that mostly to the center of the lips. Alright you guys, and this is the finished look. Love how this one turned out. These are some of my favorite colors to reach for in the fall. Doesn't this eye look just totally remind you of a pumpkin? I mean, I know I said pumpkin spice inspired, but actually what this eye look really reminds me of, you know the movie Cinderella, when the pumpkin is like doing a little dance before it turns into a carriage? It's got the green vines all over it. That's what this eye look actually reminds me of. Maybe not. Either way, I absolutely love this eye look, and I think it's totally something you could recreate with a lot of different palettes. The So Jaded palette would be a fun one to recreate this. You probably couldn't get this green tone in here, but you'd have to go in with just this shimmery kind of champagne color instead. Wouldn't get the green shift to it, but it still would be absolutely beautiful. You could also use the e.l.f. Opposites Attract palette, which I think would give you something very, very similar to these kind of tones. Maybe even the Jaclyn Hill palette would probably have similar shades to this in it as well. But I hope that you guys enjoyed this one. I hope that if you are entering fall that you are excited about it. I'd love to know how many of you guys put up Halloween decorations. Have any of you bought pumpkins yet? We have to wait another week or so to buy pumpkins for our front porch because our porch gets so warm. It's kind of facing the sun this time of year, and it gets so warm that if we buy them too early, they rot before we're able to carve them, which is probably more information than you wanted to know. But I am so excited for fall. I hope that you guys are enjoying the cooler weather if you are living where it is almost fall. And for those of you that are not entering fall, you could absolutely pull this look off any time of the year. Thank you guys so much for stopping by my channel today. I hope that you will consider subscribing for those of you that haven't done that yet. And that is it. I will see all of you guys in my next video. Bye. Alright guys, I'm back really briefly. I wanted to show you guys a second lip option. So I thought this look would also look really fun and beautiful and very fall looking with the brown lip. I don't reach for a brown lip super often, but I wanted to try it out for you guys. For my brown lip, I'm going to go ahead and wipe off what I have on right now. And now I'm going to go in with this color right here. This is Teddy Bear from Milani. Another really fun shade that would be similar to this is the color Grunge from ColourPop. So this swatch right here is Teddy Bear and this one right here is Grunge. Grunge I think is a little bit deeper and a little bit more kind of rosy toned, but I just wanted to try this out. Alright you guys, and there it is with a darker lip. So I like them both. I think I like the first one a little bit better. I don't know, this lipstick some days, kind of depends on the day for me, but some days I feel like a darker lip just doesn't look that good on me. It might just have to do with kind of my skin or my complexion products underneath. Don't like this one quite as much, but that is definitely an option. Very, very fall, I think. But if you wanted to try a dark lip with it, this is what it would look like. So, that's it. I will see you guys later. Bye. Really quickly before we get into the application, oh my goodness, man. So this is one of the rare shimmer formulas that I find actually applies better with a brush than with my finger. That's really rare. I am typically someone that finds almost everything applies at its greatest intensity when I use my finger. Okay, so there is the finished eyeshadow. I'm now just going to add a little bit of, how long was that there? Shoot. Okay, if that was there that whole time, man. Remember that time 1 month ago when I told you guys how I needed to wash my brushes? Think that's happened yet? Shameful, I know. In my defense though, I do actually spot wash my brushes on occasion. I know that's not the best way to get them super clean, but I really badly need to go wash all my brushes. It's been on my list of things to do for several weeks now, and it's kind of climbing up towards the top of my priority list of things that just really need to get done.